Well, that's a system. It has processes. And these are people that are striving for intrinsic motivation. See, most people are striving to get control. You're trying to keep the control, and they're trying to get it from you. You see? And we have to think about, how do I give up my control in such a way that you can have more autonomy, and so therefore you will be more motivated. So we started thinking about this with our own little kids, and we would did some interesting things. Like I would say, go clean your room. And so they'd go off, clean the room. They'd come back in about 30 seconds. It's clean. Okay, let's go down and take a look at that. And what have they done? They've shoved everything under the bed. And so your first inclination is to commit what's called the fundamental attribution error in psychology. You attribute the fault or defect to the individual without first considering the systemic effect. Now, when you prevent yourself from doing that, and you start to look at the system that you've created, and see, so we went down and we started to do some interesting things. We started to say, okay, well, first of all, let's take a look at an operational definition. What is a clean room? So we would work together, clean the room, talk about where things should go, how it should look, and then we take photographs of that, because they're not readers, can't read anything. And we take photographs of that and put the photographs up and said, this is what a clean room should look like. Right? So now we got an operational definition, but now we need a process. Right? So then we sit down and we just go through, okay, what should happen first? You know, should you pick your clothes up and hang them up first, or should you do this first? Or, see, most people learn this by trial and error over 25 years. They don't actually think through processes of what should happen first. It's kind of like that Far Side cartoon where the guy's saying, oh, dumb, 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 you know, put your pants on after you put your shoes on. See, there's a process to that. Okay, and so we actually would set up a little flow chart. Well, first you do this, and secondly you do this, and third you do this, fourth you do that. Okay, so now I say to my kids, okay, did you clean your room? Oh, no, I forgot to clean my room. Okay, go clean your room. They come back 5 minutes. The room clean? Yeah. We go down there, still not clean. You see? But because I've set an operational definition and I have a process, now I can come back to the definition and say, okay, show me why you think this room now looks like this definition. Doesn't look like that. Okay, well, let's fix that. So we got always one or two problems. Either you don't have a clear process, it's not operationally defined, see, or you just don't want to do it. See? And if that's the problem, then we want to drill deeper, 5 whys, things like that. Why don't you want to do it? See, why don't you care if the room is clean? You see, just resorting to punishment, if you don't clean your room, you have to do 5 Hail Marys and sit on the stairs for 10 minutes, and that doesn't do anybody any good. People just learn to endure the punishment, see, and put up with the crime. And it's amazing what we do in schools. We have a whole system built on this failed theory of how we operate. You're late to class. What happens? You go to detention. How many detentions do I go to? Well, you go to 3 detentions before you lose credit. See? Or, if you get 3 detentions, then you go to Saturday morning jail for an hour. See? The punishments will continue until motivation improves. But nobody's really looking at, why is it that somebody would want to be late to something? Think about that for a second. Why would you want to be late to a class? When we asked our students, 300 of them, we asked them that question. What would cause you to want to be late? Number 1 answer, classes don't start on time. It was very clear we weren't managing a system so that they knew that it's supposed to start at 8 o'clock. It actually started at 8 o'clock. I went back and told the teachers that. Oh, they were furious. Teacher said, that's ridiculous. Our classes always start on time. I said, well, we're going to do a little study on that. So I got 30 kids to volunteer. We formed what we called the Dead Quality Society. We had them sit in their classes for 30 days and keep data. When the class was supposed to start until something of value towards learning actually started to take place. 30 days of data. We came back, compiled all that. The average for the entire school was 12 minutes. On average, it was 12 minutes before anything of value started to take place. So we started to think about, wow, how do we change the system? There's dysfunctional things, institutionalized dysfunctional things that have been built into the system, like teacher lesson plans. Teachers doing all the planning, so you really can't do anything until I tell you what to do. See? So what do I do while I'm getting ready to tell you what to do? Well, if I'm a student, I screw around and become a discipline problem and, talk to my friends and do all kinds of stuff, right? Simple solution, stop planning for people and only plan with them. As soon as I make that shift, I got a new theory of implementation. Now, if I plan with people, are they going to be able to start immediately? Well, of course, because they were part of the planning process. The idea of like strategic planning, we're going to go off into an enclave somewhere and come up with a whole bunch of stuff for you to do. And then if you don't do it, we're just going to make your life really miserable till you will. See? Bad management. Bad way to think about things. Instead, if I start planning with people instead of for people, huge shift starts to take place. We start to see motivation rise. People know what they're supposed to do when they come in the door, et cetera, et cetera. Number 2 answer we got from students is they said, not only do they not start, the classes start on time, but even if we are there on time and it does start, it's boring. A national study came out in the USA Today about a month ago. High school students all across the nation they surveyed. Number one thing for students is they said they would have worked harder and achieved more if it wasn't so boring. So then we have to drill deeper and find out what is boring. What does that mean? Well, when I don't have a constancy of purpose, I don't understand the connection of this learning to my future, I'm not being challenged to apply it immediately, I'm just memorizing stuff for tests. See? Recipe is clear. You keep emphasizing that more and more, you're going to have more and more boring environments. Dr. Deming's message is that there's no artificial scarcity of top people. Systems create that. Okay? And we start taking the lid off. We don't have just one winner in the class. If your job as a professor or a teacher is to optimize the system, see 30 out of 30 people get A's. Not to come up with more grading and ranking games, guesswork, to prevent people from doing that. Change the system, you get a different result. So the schools we work with over the last 20 years around the world, amazing stuff started to happen. When they started concentrating on the quality of the learning experience, many schools around the United States have 0 discipline problems. They don't even have a behavior management problem because they don't even need it. Okay? They don't even bother to try to keep track of tardies and worry about attendance because nobody would be sick. You wouldn't call in sick to something that you really love, see, and just not show up. Does that make sense? You wouldn't ditch a class that had tremendous meaning to you. So it's a whole lot easier to do these extrinsic things, come up with games, gimmicks, exhorting people to do well, putting up posters, that ought to help them. Deming's 14 points. Stop doing that, you get a much different result. But actually studying the system, changing it, understanding what the problems are, getting closer to the target, well, that's hard work. Hard work. And that's why it's rare that we actually see managers. It doesn't matter if we're talking about education or engineering or we're talking about major corporations or government. Rare we see managers that have profound knowledge, that are able to think slow about their situation and not just react to it and tamper with the situation, make changes with that. Make sense? Okay. So my challenge to everybody in this room is don't wait. Start applying the philosophy today, okay? Start. and don't stop. The more you learn, the more you apply, the more you're going to gain. And that's what Pdsa Cycle is all about. Make a plan. Do your plan. Did that plan work? Study it. Think about it. What's my new plan? Go again.